When it comes to the UFC, you go and watch it for one reason: the fights. Now, sure, not all of them are going to be winners, but when it comes to the best of the best fights, you know you are going to get your money's worth. Plus, the fun of the UFC is that it's true MMA and that punches, kicks, and holds, well, they're all legal, and thus fighters are able to go and do what they do best no matter the circumstance. And when it comes to kicks, some of these guys kick really hard or really epically. So allow us to show you the top 10 hardest kicks in UFC history. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Just a reminder about our new giveaway. We're giving away the new iPad Pro or the new iMac Pro. The choice is yours. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple.
Number 10, Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort. This was a fight that was personal for a variety of reasons, mainly because the moment that this fight was announced between Silva and Belfort, both UFC legends for the record, they started jaw-jacking at one another and getting in all sorts of digs and insults to try and drive the other one crazy, including Belfort mocking the personality of Silva by saying that all of his jokes and insults were proof that he's basically wearing a mask to hide his personality. And as the fight went on, it was contested as you might expect, but then Silva lured Belfort in for a false security and landed a front kick right on Belfort's jaw, sending him to the ground. Silva would then capitalize on this and win seconds later. This kick was significant for various reasons, not the least of which was that Belfort hadn't been knocked out in his entire life, and that kick, well, it basically did it. Also, if you look at Silva's body position, you'll see that Silva really doesn't look like he's about to kick someone, which made it all the more surprising when he did. Number 9, Keith Jardine versus Chuck Liddell. If you know Keith Jardine, you'll know that he is one of the hardest kickers in all of UFC history. His body allows him to just go all out to make someone suffer when they take his blows. And the best example of this was his fight with Chuck Liddell, a UFC legend that is tried and true. Now, this fight was eye-opening because while Jardine is known for going and leaving welts on people when they take his blows, you could see the welts on Chuck in the fight. Jardine was hitting him so hard and so many times that you could see various red splotches from where his body took the impact. Now think about that. He was hitting him so hard that it was showing instant damage. That is not something that's supposed to happen, and yet it did. Number 8, Gabriel Gonzaga versus Mirko Krokop. You all know the stories of people who dominated in one area of the world in their sports, and then they come to another area and they just didn't live up to the hype. Well, sadly for the UFC, that is what happened with Mirko Krokop. This was a man who was not just built for fighting, but he dominated Pride Fighting Championships, a very respected MMA brand, and he was known for his insane powerful kicks. When he came to the UFC, he had his first fight and won it in convincing fashion, showing that he was exactly who everyone thought he was. But then, in his second fight against BJJ master Gabriel Gonzaga, things went horribly wrong for Krokop, because Gonzaga used Krokop's own moves against him and did a high kick to the head that knocked him out cold and sent him packing more or less. Plus, if you look at the footage in slow motion, you'll see that the kick ragdolled Krokop's body and made him roll his ankle. Krokop was never the same after that fight, and hey, it's not hard to see why. Number 7, Anthony Hardonk versus Corey Robinson. This is the tale of Anthony Hardonk. While not unlike Keith Jardine, had some of the hardest kicks in MMA. He was known for seriously damaging his opponents via leg kicks like they were nothing, mainly because he had the speed and technique needed to deliver the maximum amount of power to the kicks, which he did prove in spades in his very first UFC fight where he faced Corey Robinson. He came out swinging with his legs in the first round and not only won in definitive fashion, but he went and got a TKO victory from a leg kick. Yeah, not a kick to the head, not a kick to the chest or the face. He delivered a leg kick to Robinson's side, and when he did, he collapsed and the ref called the fight. That right there is some powerful striking. Number 6, Edson Barboza versus Terry Edim. UFC 142 was in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and quite poetically, they had one of their native sons there via Edson Barboza. and boy did he put on a show as he fought British fighter Terry Edim. The fight was honestly really close for a long time, even going into the third round. Both fighters had impressive shots on the other, and the fight, well, it could have gone either way. But then, in the third round, Barboza decided to go for the victory, and not only did he go and nail a kick, he became the first fighter in UFC history to go and land a spinning wheel kick for a knockout. Just watch this thing of beauty. Yeah, poetry in motion, right? The reason this kick was so special is because in the heat of the fight, it's hard to hit accurately, but he did it flawlessly, and he got the victory for his home crowd. Number 5. Sakurai vs. Danzig. Heading over to Japan, one of the legends in their part of the world is the man known as Sakurai, who is legendary for his ability to use kicks to weaken his opponents. In all honesty, that was his whole strategy for every fight. He would just use his brutal kicks to weaken and deteriorate the health of his foes, and then as a result, they would be left faltering and open to things such as spinning punches and power blows. In this fight with future UFC fighter Matt Danzig, he did just that, using his powerful kicks to weaken him, and then delivering a KO to be remembered. Number 4. Forrest Griffin vs. Quentin Rampage Jackson. Both Griffin and Jackson are UFC legends. Griffin was the first Ultimate Fighter winner and proved his worth in the octagon time and time again. Jackson was one of the brand's biggest personalities and had some of the best fights and feuds the promotion has ever had, so putting these two against each other was just magic waiting to happen. But unfortunately for Rampage, Griffin had his number. Griffin used his kicks to literally immobilize the powerful champ, so much so that Rampage was put on the defensive, and Griffin eventually won the title by unanimous decision. Number 3. Pat Barry vs. Dan Evansen. Pat Barry is a former K1 kickboxer who had a very hyped debut back in UFC in 2008, and he bulldozed through many of his opponents with his powerful kicks that were perfectly placed and timed almost every single time that he busted them out. In this legendary fight with Dan Evansen, he kicked the crap out of Dan so badly that he limped away and told the ref he was done. Now, just let's think about that for a second. A UFC fighter couldn't take the kicks and basically sulked back to his corner versus taking more kicks from Pat Barry. Number 2. Pedro Rizzo vs. Tank Abbott. Pedro Rizzo, it's not a name you hear all the time now, but in the early days of MMA and UFC, he was the guy who would do the kicks that were so devastating they could easily cripple you in the fight and end any hopes of you winning, which UFC legend Tank Abbott found out the hard way. Because when these two fought many years ago, Rizzo used his kicks on the legs of Abbott to keep him still, and then delivered a KO in the first round. Number 1. Joaquin Buckley's spinning back kick. To end this list, let's head back to some very recent history that delivered a kick like no other. At UFC Fight Night in October, Joaquin Buckley was going against Impa Kasanagane, and the fight seemed to be pretty even. At one point, Joaquin went for a kick, and not only did Impa block it, he caught it, which in most fights would mean that Impa had the advantage and was able to go and perform a major offensive maneuver. However, as Joaquin was caught, he decided to use his other leg to do a jumping spin kick right into Impa's face, knocking him out cold. When you see it in real time, it's shocking, but when you watch it in slow motion, it gets even more epic, because you can see the perfect accuracy of the kick, and the reaction to Impa as he finds himself facing defeat, and not realizing what was going on. As the announcer so accurately said, this might be one of the craziest knockouts in UFC history, as well as proof of some real-life ninja stuff. Seriously though, look at that kick. There's no way he should have been able to pull that off, but he did, and that is what makes it so epic. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at some of the hardest kicks in history that helped deliver the win and prove just how impactful UFC can be? Which of these kicks made you cringe or gasp the moment you saw them happen? Which ones did you have to watch again because you couldn't believe how good it was? Do you know of any other epic kicks that should be on this list? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.